Welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Julian Stoutt. I'm a licensed personal trainer, licensed PE teacher, world record powerlifter, special education and health teacher, here to take the fear out of fitness. Guys, we're about to take off. Classes in session. I know you see the drip. I know you see the swag. Yes, indeed. It is all in the bag. Let's go. So, guys, I am a little bit on the amp side. I'm still running on my coffee high because, you know, being a teacher can be rough sometimes. But at the same time, I have been going through social media on a regular basis. And in that, I have come to realize that we are in deep trouble in our society, because even I fall victim every now and then to this same problem. And that is, we don't know how to cook. Now, I'm not speaking for the majority. Well, I'm speaking for the majority of us, not a particular sect of us, because there are groups of people in our society that definitely know how to cook, of all races and cultures. They definitely know how to cook their food. However, as a mass in our society here, especially in America, we do not cook enough. And one of the things that alarmed me is the way we think about food. We just think it's supposed to be delicious and it better taste good or I ain't eating it. And the truth is that sometimes some of the best things you need to eat are the things that you may not want to eat. All right? And as a result, there is this mindset that we cannot seem to shake. And we have to start moving away from just feeding our desires, feeding our desires, and feeding our desires. My last video, I turned around and I showed you guys the importance of fighting for what you want, because you might be enabling someone into their early demise. There was a woman who weighed 700 pounds. I didn't go into the progress she may or may not have made at the time, but I did go into the nature of how they got there, both from the body positivity end and also from the lack of accountability, in the sense that nobody wanted to be the bad guy because they loved her. And in the process of that love, her husband is actually the one suffering most, because he was actually the one suffering the most detrimental health situations than even her being 700 pounds and can't walk. Think about that for a minute. Her husband was much lighter than her. He had being able-bodied at one point, being able to move around and do things at one point, be actually in more of a detriment to him than his 700-pound invalid wife. The only way she could do anything is if everybody brought things to her to do stuff. So if they wanted to cook, if she wanted to cook, they had to bring the stove to her. They had to bring the ingredients to her. They had to make her wear gloves because she can't wipe. She can't do much of anything. Her hands, she can't put her hands in things. You saw it yourself for those of y'all who actually watched the video. However, what she was cooking was also detrimental. She was frying Nella wafers. Frying. And creating whatever concoction she created up, which does not mean nor suggest that she does not know how to cook food that would be edible for people and desirable for some people. But at the same time, it wasn't healthy. And the biggest misconception that we have out here is that healthy cannot taste good, or that there isn't a healthy alternative to the things that you like to do. And the reason why we have this mentality is because we have marketing coming at us from every angle. And these foods that are out there are designed to create this atmosphere that it's not good enough. It could be better. This is not delicious anymore. You're eating real buffalo. You're eating regular buffalo wings. Well, you ain't tried buffalo wings until you got it buffalo wings with this on it. Or you got buffalo wings when we add this chemical to it. And now tell me what it tastes like. Oh, you want spaghetti? Oh, please. You don't know what spaghetti is until you try it with this spaghetti sauce. But this spaghetti sauce has all these preservatives and high levels of sugar in it. And this is where we go wrong, because then you have those people who become stick in the muds and then want to stick their finger in your food and tell you how bad it is and then ruin it for you. I remember specifically, I remember this video where this sister was telling people that there's 1,100 calories in a serving of fried plantain, right? And every Caribbean person known to man was like, who asked you? Who asked you that? Me ain't ask you. Me ain't ask you none of that. Sit your backside on over there, right? So, and it's true. I don't want to know. I didn't want to know that fried plantain is 1,100 calories. Now that I know, I'm going to be mindful of how often I eat it, but that's not going to stop me from ever eating it. What it's going to do is make me do things as I've originally suggested to everybody, that any food that is within your culture, you need to learn how to modify it, especially if that food is a high density calorie food. It's not to dismiss the cultural aspects of your heritage. It is not to deny the growth of your people and of your society, but it is in fact to point out that it is detrimental to that very same culture, that very same society. I don't want my family recipes to die out. I don't want my grandmother's pea soup to ever die out. Right now, my cousin's the one who can make that, from what I heard, just as good as my grandmother, if not better. I haven't had any yet, and I'm dying to find out. But I don't want to eat pea soup every 3 weeks. That's not what I want to do. I want to be able to know and enjoy and appreciate the hard work and the struggles that my grandmother went through to feed her family on a day-to-day basis, to bring them up into this world to be strong, independent Black people, to push us along further in our society, to move us up past the level of which my grandmother started with my aunts, uncles, and my mother. And on my father's side, my father, my aunts, my uncles, and my grandmother as well. The thing is, just because this is my culture doesn't mean I have to live completely in it, especially if I know scientifically it is not good for me. But one of the biggest problems we have now in our society is not cooking high calorie density foods. Because shoot, we hardly cook at all. What we like to do is go to the store, grab something out of the freezer, grab something off the shelf, go to a fast food restaurant and pick that up and spend our money that way. And not spend the time creating this culinary goodness. And the inspiration of this video is this video that is coming up here shortly. Share my screen with you, and here we go.
Hey man, this is crazy. I've already done a video on milk. I've done video on water. I've done a video on chicken. Okay? All talking about how the U.S. is contaminating them and messing them up and all that stuff. Now, here's one on bread, bro. Check this out.
Bread is not bread, and it's absolutely horrible for you. See, to get the fluffy, sweet, delicious bread millions of Americans love to eat, you need a few very special ingredients, like potassium bromate, an additive that makes bread rise, or azodicarbonamide, a chemical to bleach and strengthen the dough.
Okay, I'm gonna stop right there. To make the dough rise, what happened to yeast? I remember something simple as you put yeast in your bread and let the dough rise. And then you stick it in the oven, and then you bake it and it rises some more. And then it becomes nice and fluffy, and there you go. But, okay.
Where else you can find these chemicals? In yoga mats, pesticides, and even explosives. And all these chemicals have one thing in common. They can cause all sorts of cancer.
What they're saying right now is absolutely 100% true. Yes. As a matter of fact, this actually came out because somebody exposed it in our, what is that? In the Subway bread. Somebody brought that up. And when they brought that up, that is when people started taking notice. But the funny thing is that even in the taking of notice, people just throw up their hands and go, what are you going to do? And then they just keep it moving. And then they keep buying that bread. And it's not even that bread. The worst thing is that some people think that by transposing themselves away from Subway, because they found out Subway bread was made with this stuff, that they move away from Subway, that they go to, say, some other sandwich company, that they may not be the ones doing it. But the truth is that majority of them are. I can't specifically name which ones because I have not done that type of research. But it is true that your bread in your, especially in your stores, have it. So let's keep going.
Why the European Union, the UK, and even China have banned them from food production. But not in America. To this day, the FDA says these additives are generally recognized as safe to eat.
Wait. Hold up, homie. Did he just say that something that can blow up is safe for us to eat? What the fuck? I cannot believe this, bro. So the bread is, they're putting the same stuff that they put in yoga mats into the bread? Are you kidding me right now? That's crazy, bro. Hey, man, this is crazy.
All right. So, here is what you guys have to understand. And that is this. Generally recognized as safe to eat means if you eat it, but don't eat in excess, you're not going to get poisoned. So let me give you an example. As a matter of fact, let's get scientific. Let's get into the chemistry of it all. In chemistry, in anything, poison control is merely eating or ingesting anything at a limit to which it will not cause adverse effects within a short period of time. So for instance, we all drink water, right? Water sustains us. Water keeps us alive. If we don't drink it within 3 days, we die, right? But did you know you can die by drinking too much water? You can get dihydrogen oxide poisoning. You can get poisoned with water. Technically, what will really happen is that you will dilute the electrolytes in your body so much that your heart stops. That's ultimately what happens. But technically, you poisoned yourself because anytime you ingest a chemical, then it causes either a chemical reaction or depletes a chemical reaction, causing your body to cease to function. That in turn is a poison, right? But don't take my word for it. Let's go into the dictionary, shall we? I don't want the banned poison. Let's go poison definition. A substance that is capable of causing the illness or death of a living organism when introduced or absorbed. The substance that reduces the activity of a catalyst. Again, I just broke that part down to you. If anytime you have chemical reactions in your body and it reduces or destroys that chemical reaction or enhances it to the point where your body cannot function, you die. Hence, it is a poison. All right? If we want to find out what a catalyst is, let's look at it. A substance that increases the rate of chemical reaction without itself undergoing any permanent chemical change. Okay? Substance that increases the rate of chemical reaction without itself undergoing any permanent chemical change. Okay? So, I'll show you here on the screen. Let me share my screen with you again so you can see it for yourself. That's what that is, right there. And then what we'll do is we'll go back to poison so you can see that for yourself. A poison is any chemical substance that is harmful or lethal to a living organism. Technically, anything you eat can be considered harmful or lethal. The term is used in a wide range of scientific fields and industries where it is often specifically defined. It may also be applied colloquially or figuratively with a broad sense, according to Wikipedia. And this is why we have to be a little bit smarter about what it is that we talk about, how we do it, how we talk about it, because like I said, anything can be poison. The only reason why we label things poison is because such a small amount of whatever chemical substance it is, it will then cause you lethal, harmful reaction to such a degree where you may die or you will be permanently ill and or scarred, right? It takes not so much. So that's why they consider it a poison. So anything that we consider a normal level of ingestion. So what we would consider a normal level of ingestion is a cup, 8 ounces. Anything you could consume 8 ounces of is relatively normal. Actually, technically a teaspoon, to be honest with you. But anything from a teaspoon to a cup is within normal limits. So if I could ingest a teaspoon of bleach and not die, it's not poisonous. Or if it doesn't have any adverse effects, then that's it. But guess what? A teaspoon of chlorine bleach in your system will actually make you quite ill, if not kill you, if you do not find the chemical that will, losing sense of the word here, but it causes an opposite reaction to the ingestion of the chlorine, right? So why am I bringing this up? What is the point of me bringing this up? And how does this relate to cooking? I was walking through Costco and I literally got inspired to decide that, because I was offered a whole bunch of bread at work today at my school, not only today but yesterday. And I flat out refused because I know about what is in our bread. And I refuse to inundate that in my household. My wife loves bread, and I'm not going to support that aspect of her diet, especially when I know that that stuff is also the thing that can cause it can cause obesity in of itself. It's not the act of eating bread that causes the obesity, it's the act of eating bread with those chemicals in it that causes obesity. Because think about it, 50, 60, 70 years ago, we were still eating bread. As a matter of fact, if you think about it, sliced bread is younger than Betty White, okay? And knowing that, that means we didn't even slice bread factory wise until after Betty White was born. We just sold loaves and then you cut it yourself to make whatever sandwich, and we didn't have the levels of obesity that we have now. Yes, portion sizes are larger, and that has a contributing factor, but also chemicals have a huge portion of influence in how it is that you go about your body changing. What is a hormone? Right? Let's Google that. Let's see what a hormone is, so that way I'm not just talking out the side of my butt. Okay? So let's look. A hormone is a regulatory substance produced in an organism and transported in tissue fluids such as blood or SAP to stimulate specific cells or tissues into action. A synthetic substance with an effect similar to that of an animal or plant hormone. A person's sex hormones as held to influence behavior or mood. Let's see more. Let's go with a simple definition. Hormones are chemical substances that act like a messenger molecules in the body. After being made in one part of the body, they will travel to other parts of the body where they will help control how cells and organs do their work. For example, insulin is a hormone that is made by the beta cells in the pancreas. Okay? So, that means chemicals can also mimic other chemicals that create or influence body parts to do different things. So as a result, if I give you a food that has a chemical in it, and then the combination of chemicals along with the chemical of the food itself creates an atmosphere for you to then go beyond and start sending signals to your body to create more body fat or to go into lipodosis, then what? Now what? What are you going to do? It doesn't matter whether or not you ate 500 calories or 5,000 calories. You're going to start accumulating excess body fat just by the mere notion that you ate this compound and ingested this compound into your body, and that ingestion caused a series of events to happen inside the body that then influences your body to do something different than what it was supposed to do had you eaten a different version of that same food. So, for me, I like bread myself. I know other people that like bread. I know in the past, eating bread did not cause this to happen. So why is it happening now? What changed? I'll tell you what changed. What changed is the chemicals being added in your food to make it last longer, because people are all about profit. And because people are all about profit, I don't want my food to sit on a shelf and then go to waste. And then either I have to sell at a reduced price before it goes completely bad, or I don't want it to go bad for a long period of time, so that way, even if it is sitting on the shelf, people could just pick it up whenever they feel like it and buy it then. Think about it. Ask yourself this. When's the last time you had mold on your bread? How long did it take to get mold on your bread? Just stop and think. I'll wait. I'm going to sound like an old fart here, but back in my day, it took about 3-4 days before, maybe about 3 days before your bread got moldy when I was a kid. Started growing mold on it. You had to cut the mold off where you saw it and then eat that. That's what we had to do. And then if you let it sit for a week, it really got moldy. And you definitely couldn't eat it again because it was just covered in mold. Now, you could leave bread sitting for a week and it won't get moldy. I've gone to Walmart and picked up their French bread, and I literally left it in my house for almost 5-6 days and still was able to go back and eat it because there was not a mold in sight. And now what that has done is inspired me that I'm going to go ahead and make my own bread from now on. I'm going to get some bread pans. I'm going to turn around and on the weekend, I'll make whatever kind of bread I want. I'll learn how to make French bread. I like French bread. French bread is one of my favorites. I'll make some French bread. My mom loves sourdough bread. If I learn how to make sourdough bread, I'll go ahead and when I visit my mom again, I'll go ahead and teach her how to make sourdough bread for herself. I'm sure she'll figure it out if she wanted to do it anyway, to be honest with you. But when I'm around, that's what I'll do. Then, in the process, if I feel like making whatever, I'll know to make it ahead of schedule. I want hamburger buns. I know how to make hamburger buns. I'm not saying I do now. But if that's what I'm going to learn how to do it. And when I learn how to do it, we're good. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the encouragement. If I, who is a personal trainer, special education teacher, and this entity on YouTube can do it, anybody can do it. It's just that, are you willing to sacrifice your time and effort to create the healthy atmosphere that you deserve in order to basically survive in this world long term? I believe you can do it. This is now where we've moved past that into encouragement. I know you can do it. I know you can do it. Because I'm nobody special. I may have done special things, but I am not better than you. I'm not any more or less special than you. And if I can accomplish all of the things that I've accomplished and do the things that I've done in my lifetime, so can you. And not only do those things, but also expand upon it. I like cooking. To be honest with you, I like to cook. I just don't feel like I have time to cook. And to be honest with you, I do have time. I just don't make the time because I'm too busy doing other things. And then when I want to have leisure time, I go through my leisure time. But as far as cooking, recently I went through and started like literally meal prepping again because I fell off of it. I got into the habits that I just talked about earlier. And this is where I'm going to hold me accountable and I'm going to hold you accountable. Instead of focusing on the wrong things, instead of inundating your whole entire time just randomly watching nonsense, instead of you just putting yourself into a focus that is not beneficial to your livelihood, I need you guys to start focusing on what's real. And what's real is getting into the kitchen and making the food from scratch that you know you should be making. You like macaroni? Go get a macaroni maker. Or you like pasta? Get a pasta maker. Make the pasta yourself. Put it in the refrigerator. You know it's going to last but so long, but you also know that when you make it, you're going to cook it. And when you cook it, it's good to go for however long it lasts. And depending on what size of your family, it probably won't even last that long. I made a pound of pasta. What was that? Monday night. And I'm already down. And with some chicken and some sun-dried tomatoes. And I'm already down to my last bowl. Do I have to cook everything from scratch? Absolutely not. But what you got to do is start reading these labels. I was using it ready-made rice to put into my bowls that I was making for lunch. And I forgot to pick one up from out of my house as I was running out. I was running a little bit late. And I forgot to grab one. So I went to Walmart and went down the rice aisle and picked up one of their heated 60-second rices. And I thought nothing of it because I'm like, it's rice, right? Wrong. Had all kinds of chemicals in it that I couldn't even pronounce. For what? It's rice. But then I forbade myself to even buy that product again. So then I went and I started noticing that there was other healthier alternatives in that same very type of rice, and I started purchasing that instead when I found out that I just didn't grab the rice that I wanted to grab in the first place. I'll rather relegate myself to that product than this product, because it was just, even though the one that I wanted was cilantro and lime, they didn't have cilantro and lime, so I just regulated myself to the chicken broth, the chicken and bone broth rice instead. It tasted just fine. I didn't need the extra flavor for the Mexican themed lunch that I was having. However, I realized I could do better, so I decided to do so. And I believe that you can too. And it's high time that we all do that. And like I said, instead of me relegating myself to running over to whatever, name your restaurant, I'm just going to go ahead and start holding myself accountable to how I present myself when I eat. As a matter of fact, I lost 7 pounds just changing my diet just that much. I exercise the same way I do all the time. I feel I have a little bit more energy. I feel a little bit lighter. I'm not having adverse effects from eating certain foods. And therefore, I'm going to continue on with it. So, to give you another example of what I'm talking about, we're going to get to this video here. Here we go. And this is an inspiration to me also.
Yeah, well, last time I checked, I'm still hot, real hot. Kept it dope without a pill pop.
I'm gonna mute it because I don't need the music, because I don't want the music killing my stuff. So right now what he's doing is is he's showing you how much sugar is in that bottle of ginger ale. All right? That bottle right there, that's how much sugar you're ingesting every time you drink one. So get it out of here. So what he said is, let's do this instead. So let's stop there. Which one would you rather? I know in your mind you want this one. But in truth, what's wrong with this one? As a matter of fact, I think that'll be a little bit more potent. I think this one would have a little bit of extra kick to it. I think this one would be a little bit more delicious, to be honest with you. And I'm actually going to try this one personally. And I'm going to give you the heads up on whether or not this is legit. And when I say legit, it's clearly legit. He's doing it. But what I mean is, does it taste good? Is it delicious? He says he likes it, but that's just him. I'm going to fast forward because there's one ingredient that I want to figure out which one it is. I'm trying to figure out which that looks like either agave nectar or let's see if he has the ingredients here. Yep, it's maple syrup is what he's using. Okay? So here it is right here. I'll actually get myself off the screen so you can actually see it better. So ginger ale, so I'm going to read what Mr. Bailey actually says. Ginger ale from the store is loaded with sugar. One of the most important things you can learn this year is learning how to understand food labels. This is also the part of the story. I don't want you guys to just simply go out and just pull things off the shelf because of brand recognition. I don't want y'all to just simply buy things because you like how it tastes. Don't get me wrong, don't eat anything you don't like eating. But at the same time, don't go about living your life about just how good it just tastes. It just tastes good. It just tastes good. It just tastes good. Right? Learn how to understand food labels. Making your own ginger ale could be very simple, and it only takes 4 ingredients. See, notice 4 ingredients as opposed to the multitude of ingredients that they use to create ginger ale from commercial foods. He says he has a ebook full of detox drinks, smoothies, and diet plan you'll need to help cleanse your body. However, if you want to go to it, there it is down there at the bottom. I'm not going to promote it nor not promote it, but that is on you to decide. All right. So simplify your ingredients. The more ingredients you add to a food, the worse it is. I would rather eat my cheesecake than to go out and buy store-bought cheesecake. And I don't mean from a bakery. I'm talking about from a store. Does that make sense? Because the bakery probably uses the same ingredients that I do. When I get my meat, I don't want to get my meat from a store. I want to get it from a butcher because I know that where this butcher got its meat from is more than likely from a localized source that is not utilizing excessive hormones and all this other stuff to get the product bigger. They have naturally raised chickens instead of chemically enhanced chickens. They're not putting all this unnecessary stuff in our food because we don't need it. Luckily for me, I have a friend whose family owns a ranch. I get most of my meat from them. I'm not buying regular meat unless it's a desperate situation where I need it now. as opposed to next week now, or next month now, or 2 months and a half from now. But I'm not buying regular store-bought meat. Even down to when I went to Costco, and I'm going to bring them up. It's not Costco themselves. It is the companies that are being sold within Costco that I'm having a problem with. I bought some chicken. I went to buy some chicken the other day, and brand X was the same poundage, but it was cheaper than brand Y, right? And same, but brand Y had less weight than brand X, which was making brand Y more expensive. But then I noticed brand Z, which was organic frozen chicken, and it was cheaper, even though it was less in weight and in size. It was cheaper, so I went with that, and I'm probably going to stick to it as long as they make that kind of product where it's cubed and it's frozen, but it's natural chicken, as opposed to brand X. Brand Y was fine, but brand Y was more expensive than brand X and brand Z. It's the only reason why I didn't choose brand Y. And also having it cubed kind of helped as well. Now, my plans for tonight is I'm going to cook up some of this chicken, season it just right, and then I'm going to squirt a little bit of buffalo sauce on it, but the brand that I'm using only has a few ingredients. I'm not going to name the brand because they're not going to pay me, because I'm not big enough to be paid yet. But what I will say is it only has about 6 or 7 ingredients in it max. And that's the type of food that I want to put in my body, as opposed to sodium benzate and something propylene, whatever, magnesium propylene in my. No, I don't need all of that in my food for whatever reason. I don't care whether it's meant as a caking agent or decaking agent, or whether it preserves the food. I don't care about that. I don't need to know all that. I just need Louisiana peppers, vinegar, butter, salt, and lemon in my ingredients to make buffalo sauce. We don't need all that extra stuff. Okay? So now I'm going to, that was the nutrition part. So I am going to land this plane. Guys, we have to learn how to cook. And this is not specified to any gender, so don't come for me with the nonsense, because I'm not going for it. As a man, I can cook. As a woman, you should be able to cook too. And vice versa. You have a unique responsibility to your family. And whoever is the least busiest should be the one to cook more. The least busiest. I don't care which gender. If it's the wife more than it is the husband, so be it. If it's the husband more than the wife, so be it. I don't care. All I care about is who's going to be responsible to lead their family out of the misery that we create because we don't know how to put in the work. Like I said, I'm putting in the work now. And I'm reaping the benefits. I'm getting better every day. I'm recovering from my injuries better. Ever since I literally have not felt this good in about 6 months, at least from an energy standpoint. Physically, I've got injuries that I've acquired over the last 6 months, but I am working through it. I am working through it, and I will be better. You can bet on it. So, guys, I am going to finalize this video with this. Flour is cheaper than a loaf of bread. As a matter of fact, a bag of flour can make about 3 or 4 loaves of bread. As a matter of fact, let's find that out before we go home. Before I close this down. How many loaves of bread can a 5 lbs? So, a 5-pound bag of flour can make roughly 7.5 loaves of bread. Okay? So, let's look up how much a 5-pound bag of flour costs. So that way you can see okay, 5-pound bag of flour, if you go to Walmart, $2.43. If you want to get like unbleached flour, that's $6.95 for 7 loaves. How much is a loaf of bread being sold for right now? Wait, they want $28 for a bag, for a 5-pound bag of, I don't know about that. What is in that flour that you gonna charge $22? Okay, I don't even know. All right, but let's see. Loaf of bread, how much it costs? Loaf of bread, if it's white bread, $1.48. One loaf. If it's whole wheat bread, $1.88. Okay. So let's even go with the $1.88. Times 7.5. You're looking at $14.10 to buy the same amount of, to spend on the same amount of bread that a 5-pound bag of flour could create yourself. Let's see how much baking yeast costs. Baking yeast cost. Even if we go by this, let's look at some images. Let's click on this real fast and see. 4 ounces of yeast. Let's find out how much. That's $5.48. So if we add that together, you're going to add an additional, so that's $8. So 2 to 1 so far, right? How many loaves of bread can 4 ounces of yeast make? How much yeast is needed 1 to 1.5% of the weight of flour. So if you're using 1 kilo of flour, that means you need 10 to 15 grams of yeast. I use 1.5 if I'm making an olive oil dough. Enriched doughs, one with butter, eggs, or sugar, need 3% to 4% of the weight of the flour. So it's 1 pound. So 1 pound would be 16 ounces. And you need 1% of 16 ounces. So you need 1.5. So you could make about 4 loaves of bread with that. That's all I'm saying. You can make 4 loaves of bread roughly. And this is in fact what we need to do. I'm focused on bread, but you get the point. We could do this with any food you make. Any food that you personally like and you can make it, you can do it far more cheaper than it would be for you to go outside and go buy it. Because what you're also paying for is the employment of other people. Now, does that mean you want to cripple an industry simply because? No, supply and demand, my man. That's what it's about. It's about supply and demand. If we start letting people know that we're not accepting the garbage that is in the food that we like to purchase from these companies, they'll stop putting it in there. For God's sakes, they don't do it in Canada. They don't do it in European Union. They don't do it in China. They don't allow those chemicals in their food. The foods that we export, they don't allow us to put those chemicals in their food. So what they do is make ketchup for us, and then they make ketchup for them. And then what they do is, to make more money, is the same ketchup, the same mustard, the same whatever that they make for other countries, they rebrand it and call it Simply. And you'll be none the wiser. Whereas, tell them you don't want high fructose corn syrup in your drinks. Sugar will be fine. I'm not saying sugar is the best, but it damn sure is better than high fructose corn syrup. And it definitely is better than sucralose. I'm just here to tell you. You don't want that stuff in your food, because we already covered how sucralose is a DNA destroyer. It's genotoxic, not just simple toxic, but genotoxic. So, for those of y'all who stuck around this long to watch my video, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your due diligence, and I appreciate the fact that you wanted to learn something from me today. So, go ahead and click the subscribe button. Go ahead and click the like button and click the all notifications button, so that way you can get every bit of information that I put out. Have a nice day. Be the best you. And class is Stoutt.
Thank you.